The Fed wanted a softer labor market, and it seems as if they're getting it sooner than later, as multiple companies are now announcing job cuts of thousands of workers. This cannot be a good sign for the working American that's already struggling to keep up and keep things together. Do you feel as if nothing's being done for us? President Biden has now decided to visit the non-crisis at the border. Yeah, they called it a non-crisis. The first time that he's doing it since he's taken office. And a US base in Syria just got attacked recently with no one taking credit for it. At this point, should we be concerned for our own safety at home here? Just let me know by commenting a quick yes or no down below. Now, before I continue, please take a second, drop a like for the video. Definitely helps with the YouTube algorithm. It's also the second best way to help get the truth out to more people. The very best way that you can help is by subscribing to the channel. That is, if you value your daily dose of the truth when it comes to Social Security, SSI, SSDI, passive income, the stock market, the housing market, and what's really happening in Washington, D.C. and the state of our economy. Also, if you own a home, make sure to get your free home warranty quote. The link is in the description down below of this video. All right, guys, nothing's impossible. And one thing that we need to realize about our government officials is that they're bound to go back on their word, depending upon the situation. This is exactly what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did when she was seen talking to Republicans, Matt Gaetz and Paul Gosar, even though the Democrat vowed to never socialize with Republicans. So what makes it even more interesting is that Gosar made an animated video of himself attacking the congressman. AOC had this to say about the interaction. Quote, "In chaos, anything is possible, especially in this era." End quote. AOC says that even she is shocked at the amount of pushback that Kevin McCarthy is getting. Quote, "I was honestly surprised. I did not think that Kevin McCarthy was going to have the votes in the first round, but I didn't think that it was going to be as catastrophic for him as it actually was." End quote. McCarthy, who served as a party House minority leader for almost half a decade, has 20 Republicans standing in his way. And I don't see this getting resolved anytime soon.
What is the strategy going forward with McCarthy?
Work through it, get everybody together, and solve our problems.
House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy hoping a new round of concessions he made would create cracks in the conservative opposition aligned against his bid to become House Speaker.
A speaker has not been elected.
20 ultra-conservative colleagues once again blocking him from securing enough votes to take the Speaker's gavel.
This dung crap, which is chaos.
McCarthy himself acknowledging defeat even before the latest round of votes Thursday, saying he doesn't expect any new ballots today to yield a different vote tally than he's gotten in the past 2 days, but he believes he's making progress.
Nothing's agreed to until everything's agreed to.
ABC News has learned some of the concessions McCarthy has made to the so-called rebel Republicans include offering to change the House rules to allow just one lawmaker to force a vote to remove him as Speaker. He has also agreed to put more far-right Republicans on the powerful House Rules Committee and bring bills on term limits and border security up for a vote. Some of the holdouts reportedly willing to accept his offer, but others digging in their heels.
Does it look like I'm ready to make a deal?
The paralyzed House means members can't be sworn in, receive classified briefings, and they have limited power to help their constituents. Even payroll for some congressional staff is on hold.
Some say that this is the right way to do it, so long as the Republicans take their time to find someone who they can all agree will lead them in the House. Now, on the topic of incidents that may not get resolved anytime soon, there was a recent attack on one of our Syrian bases. It's been reported that 2 rockets hit a base housing American troops in eastern Syria. Thankfully, no harm was caused to our troops. The attack marks the 3rd anniversary of the killing of Iran's general and chief of their Quds force, Qasem Soleimani. Joe Bacino, a spokesperson for the United States Central Command, had this to say, quote, "Attacks of this kind place coalition forces and the civilian populace at risk and undermine the hard-earned stability and security of Syria and the region," end quote. Now, speaking of attacks, Ukraine has been successful with their deadly strikes on Russia using US-provided weapons. According to Ukraine, 400 Russian soldiers were killed in the attacks, while Russia said that the death toll was at 63.
These smoldering ruins are all that's left of a Russian base, used to house troops and store weapons in the city of Makivka. Ukrainian HIMARS rockets, like those seen here, landed shortly after midnight on Sunday. Russia claims at least 63 soldiers died, while Ukraine says as many as 400 were killed. It capped off a deadly New Year's weekend.
Russia seems to already have a plan in order to retaliate, and this is by sending a prolonged attack of exploding drones to hopefully exhaust Ukraine's troops. I also found out that cell phones of Russian soldiers were the primary cause of the deadly rocket attacks. A Russian general confirmed that the unauthorized use of cell phones determined the coordinates of the location of the military personnel, and he also promised to punish officials responsible for this blunder. You gotta wonder why soldiers would have cell phones out on the field. And does this mean that we can be tracked anywhere as long as we have a phone? I think we already know the answer to that. All of these attacks sound like snippets from a movie or from a soap opera. It's all very scary and dramatic at the same time. This next bit isn't like that at all. Check this out. Poland has asked Germany for reparations for damages sustained in World War II. How much? A cool $1.4 trillion. To which Germany said, no. As simple as that. It's almost comedic to a point, but do you think that Poland deserves to ask for this after more than 70 years? Or is Germany in the right since they've already said that they don't want to have a friendly policy toward Poland? Since we're already discussing policies, let's talk about Twitter and their ban on political ads being effectively lifted. They're now seeking to grow revenues as they follow the footsteps of other platforms that allow political advertising, namely Facebook and YouTube. Now, according to the platform, quote, "We believe that cause-based advertising can facilitate public conversation around important topics," end quote. Well, that is probably the epicenter of being politically correct. An important topic that many consider a crisis is the situation at the border. There is some good news, as President Biden has already said that he plans to visit the US-Mexico border. This will be the first time that he goes there since taking office. Some say that the crisis is being made worse by Republicans since they're talking about the problems there. Wait, so Republicans are to blame for the problem at the border just because they're trying to raise awareness of, well, the problem at the border? Man, I don't know about this. Sounds like a lot of gaslighting to me. In relation to that, New York Mayor Eric Adams is furious with the governors busing migrants to his city. He's laid the blame on many Republican governors, but it's now come to our attention that even Democrat governors are doing the same thing. Adams publicly criticized these plans and said, quote, "There's no room at the inn," end quote. You know who else doesn't have room? The cloud-based software firm Salesforce, as they now plan to cut jobs by 10% while closing some of their offices. They admit that they hired way too many people, and since the economy is slowing down a little bit, they now have to force massive layoffs. Well, I guess the Fed, Jerome Powell and company are getting their wish. Now, the same can be said for many tech companies, and Amazon just confirmed that they plan to lay off more than 18,000 workers. Wow. Call me crazy, but doesn't it sound like all of these companies are preparing for an economic collapse or economic downturn? Since layoffs are going to become more and more common, it's really up to us to find strengths in this economy. And when I say strengths, I mean skills. Skills that can help improve our cash flow. And we have to find ways to make money where we can and absorb all the knowledge that may help us along the way. Now, if you're interested in learning more about budgeting, or if you've been improving your skill set enough to handle multiple streams of income through side hustles or small businesses, or maybe you want to make some money while you sleep by investing in the stock market or even real estate, then maybe it's time to join our Patreon community where we talk about just those things. Side hustles, starting a small business, even starting to invest in the stock market for the very first time. Well, if you guys want to join us over in the Patreon community, there is a link in the description down below. But before I go, please take a second, drop a like for the video. Also subscribe to the channel for your daily dose of the truth. Appreciate you guys watching. I will see you on the next video. Y'all be safe.